Girlfriend cheats with my boss. I was working at a packing factory around 22 years ago, and I had recently concluded a 4-year long-term relationship in which I had been cheated on. I kicked her to the curb and began dating again. At work, I met this newly divorced female who worked as the receptionist. We began seeing one another because she was attractive and a lot of fun. Everything was going swimmingly, but I wasn't committed to anything long-term. She'd dropped clues about moving in together, and I'd never be able to pull the trigger with her. Something wasn't right. We were very busy at work, and I volunteered for as much odd as I could to supplement my income. I worked in the nights, and my staff was tiny and close-knit. One of my guys told me one night that he observed my boss's automobile at my girlfriend's apartment complex. I knew something was wrong since he lived around 30 miles away. I had worked for him the previous weekend, and my girlfriend had gone to the casino that weekend since I had been called in. Lol. I had a feeling something was wrong. So I approached her door and knocked. She inquired, "Who is it?" "It's me, sweetie," I said. "I came over to check how you were doing. I just had a few moments." He was nowhere to be seen when she opened the door and allowed me in. I motioned for him to go, and he did. I inquired as to what was going on and how long it would take. They claimed to have been up for around 2 weeks. My employer, who had just divorced, was having a terrible time with his ex. Up until this time, I had felt terrible for him. I said that I didn't like the high school nonsense and that it didn't matter whether he saw her. If he wanted a turn, he could have simply informed me, and we could have dealt with it as adults. He apologized, and I told him I didn't want this to interfere with my aunt. I was still eager to work as many weekends as possible. He said, "No problem." I never recognized the presence of my soon-to-be ex. She instantly vanished and became deafeningly silent in my presence. She continued to attempt to catch my attention and apologize, but I never replied in any manner. My boss had been seeing this gorgeous young lady around 20 who worked at the facility between his ugly divorce and my girlfriend. She asked me what was going on a few days later at work. When I informed her what had occurred, she was upset. I told her that it was a good thing she found out now before things became worse. She suggested we go out and annoy them. That's what we did. And she was a weirdo. I had a great time with her. One of my employees asked me how my date went one day in the workplace while my supervisor was present. I told him it was fantastic and maybe the finest exchange I'd ever done. There are no regrets. My employer just stood up and went away. We didn't talk about anything other than business for approximately 2 weeks. We marketed employee sales to workers on Fridays. Employees would go to the receptionist, pay, and get a ticket to come to us, where we would serve them their meal. My supervisor remarked, "Hey, I'm going to take these 10 boxes, 10 pounds, and pay for them on the way out." The exit road passed straight by the receptionist's office, allowing me to observe whether he had paid or not. He didn't do it. I drove right by. Because he seemed to have made this choice on the spur of the moment, I phoned the plant accountant and asked him to check the cash box and the tickets to see whether there were any for my boss. I was afraid my ex would simply fill out the tickets and have them ready, and we wouldn't be able to capture her till the box was empty. Because no citations had been issued, he just got in trouble and was finally dismissed. Later, she was being questioned, and she seemed to be short in the cash box, but she couldn't be sure. As a result, someone came in and paid for dinner with a $100 note. They knew she was skimming because there were no major orders done the remainder of the day that would have needed $100 as change, and because the $100 bill was gone from the box at the end of the day. She got fired. As department supervisor, I took over for boss. I got rid of a cheating girlfriend, had crazy with his ex and got to boast about it in front of him, got rid of the same dishonest employer, fired 2 thieves, earned a promotion, and yet got to keep my aunt. Things don't always go as planned for me, but it was priceless. Story 2. I, 21 male, found out my wife, 19 female, has been cheating on me. I've been married to my wife, not her true name, for about a year. She came to me last month and confessed to me that she had been cheating on me. She said she hadn't slept with anybody, but she had kissed a Snapchat acquaintance named Kevin, not his actual name, at a park one night. She had also been photographing her privates and sending them to him, as well as getting similar photographs from him. When I question her, I discover that she has been doing the same thing with others she meets on sleazy websites and Discord servers. I was so upset at first that all I could do was weep. I sincerely wanted to work things out with her because I didn't want my marriage to end this way. I felt we could get past this since she looked remorseful for her behavior. However, the urge to sort things out soon vanished during the following week. I informed her that even if we worked things out, it would be a while before I could trust her again, and that in the meanwhile, I'd want to put a tracking program as well as a keylogger on her phone. I then loaded the same apps on my phone and told her she could check them anytime she wanted. She was displeased, but she complied. The biggest argument arose from the following two things I requested her to accomplish. I informed her that I want for us to begin utilizing birth control. We hadn't, but I didn't want to drag a child into this situation. She immediately began talking about how she didn't want to use birth control because you can become pregnant while using it, and she is concerned that if that happens, the kid would be harmed. This was nothing new, she had told me this before we even got married. She began bombarding my phone with links to all of these articles and YouTube videos, and so on. When I proposed using condoms, she began to worry about what if she had an adverse response to them, and so on. The second thing I advised her to do was to obtain a job, return to school, she dropped out of high school, or at the absolute least, volunteer someplace, but no more lazing in bed on her phone all day. She said that she would look into volunteering at the site where she learned to ride horses as a child. That's fantastic. A few days go by, but she hasn't started volunteering there. Finally, I ask her why. Her rationale is that the van's petrol tank isn't full, and she doesn't want to stop at a gas station alone herself on the way to the horse farm to fill it up, since gas stations are. I'm sick of it at this point. A week has passed, and I still feel like nothing has changed, and I'm still creating excuses not to do things, like I usually do. I go to bed afraid every night, wake up miserable every morning, can't eat, can't sleep, can't get any work done at my job, and I just don't know what to do. After careful thinking and guidance from my father, I go to her and tell her that I believe we need to separate for a short while, to give me time to recover and for her to focus on getting to a better place in life. She doesn't take it well, bursts into tears, becomes enraged with me, but ultimately accepts. I tell her that she can remain and I'll go, or she can leave and I'll stay, and she says she'll leave because she doesn't believe she can pay the rent. I hand her the vehicle and $250 cash from our $500 savings and send her on her way. She collects some of her belongings and departs. I see her at church and meet her for lunch and a stroll in the park a few times a year to speak and sort things out. We see our counselor and speak with her. I had hoped that the separation would serve as a wake-up call for her to get her life in order, but that did not happen. Instead, every time we get together, church, lunch, a stroll in the park, etc., a quarrel arises. First, she informs me that she is changing and that I am not giving her a chance. When I said that it had been a week and that I hadn't seen any changes, she remarked that I wouldn't be able to observe any if I wasn't near her, which I wouldn't be now that we were separated. I told her that we could discuss when she had something to show me that she had done. Each time I see her, the discussions get more heated, finally reaching a point where they are poisonous. She accuses both my father and my closest friend Murray of attempting to get me to divorce her. She sends them threatening messages and tells me that I should seek advice from more qualified individuals. She then accuses me of being a drug addict. I vape, but I do not take drugs, implying that I should go to treatment. She accuses me of having females over behind her back, which there is no proof of, and which I do not do, of never loving her, and of not knowing God. The last straw came when I was looking through some of her social media profiles, attempting to find out how deep she had fallen down the rabbit hole of cyber. When we discussed her adultery, she said it had been going on for a few months. Imagine my shock when I discovered that it had been going on for at least 7 months, according to what I could locate, which implies that she was faithful for no more than 4 months of our marriage. I informed her that I want a divorce. She refused, threatened self-harm, and launched into a loud rant in the middle of the park. I explained, trying to remain calm, that I would get one whether she wanted one or not, and that if she cooperated, it wouldn't have to drag on for months and months. She would get some of our collective marital wealth instead of it all going to pay lawyer fees, and an uncontested divorce would not require evidence of infidelity, saving her all that embarrassment. She agreed, completed the papers, and said that she would work with me on it. I genuinely don't want to rekindle our relationship. Not only have I been able to recover a bit since we split up, but it also seems like a great load has been lifted. I now have much more money and energy, the home is no longer in such disarray, and the overall clutter has vanished. Having said that, our church and a few of our relatives and friends are attempting to persuade me to reconcile with her and avoid the divorce. I honestly don't believe that's appropriate, since it's clear to me that the relationship isn't healthy, and nothing is going to fix that. I adore, and I did make a commitment to her when I married her, but not in this way. Not when I can't trust her and am always wondering what she's been up to and where she's gone. I can't go through another year like this. But, at the same time, I suppose a part of me isn't sure since I haven't filed the divorce papers yet. What I'd want to know is, am I on the right track here? Is my desire for a divorce legitimate, Or am I not giving enough time or a second opportunity when she deserves it? I realize this is potentially a contentious matter, depending on one's beliefs on marriage/divorce, but I'm curious what others think.